First of all, I want to say to Pastor Angannette, my daughter, it's a blessing being here in the house with you. Let's give God a big, big hand for you. It's my first time being here. The place is beautiful. Now, most of y'all know how I roll. We're going to get right down into the word. Is that cool? Amen. I'm going to be talking about the spiritual warfare against gifts, favor, and purpose. And I'm going to be coming out of the book of Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 5. Now, I find it a fantastic message to deliver here. I look at these children, these small babies y'all got. I want to tell you, before you ever conceived them, before the twinkle ever got in y'all's eyes, God had already planned before the foundation of the earth that they should walk in certain things. The real battle and the real spiritual warfare in all of our lives is that the enemy of our soul has been fighting tooth and nail to stop us from becoming who God designed us to be. And all I do want to tell you, God did not design all of us to be preachers.
Amen. Come on now.
And I say this with a great big amen. If you're not called, please don't try. Amen. But think about this, many of you that are in here. Isn't it amazing? I am like 62-year-old gentleman, okay? And I spend most of my life, man of God, trying to find out who I am.
Yes.
Trying to go on this journey of trying to discover who I am, never realizing that the many faults and failures, I'm going to say something right from the top. Y'all know the stuff you know about yourself, the failures, the foolishness, the mistakes. They do not define who you were. Matter of fact, they're only sidelines trying to get you out of what God really designed us to be. You know what I believe, bro? I believe that we will never be happy. We will never be content until we find that place where we can say, Lord, it's okay being who you made me to be. Look at Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5. A very powerful verses here. This is what it says in Jeremiah, first chapter 1, verse 5. And God was trying to tell Jeremiah the prophet at a time when everything was busting loose in Israel. Y'all that know the history of Israel, during this particular time, Israel was actually in captivity. They had lost the temple. They had lost a lot of their religious rights. And here Jeremiah was called by God to be a prophet to the nations. And Jeremiah says some of the same words that we say today. He began to ask God, God, if you called me to minister your word and to be all you said, God, I'm a little shaky about it. I'm a little afraid about it. And you know what? He was afraid of his calling, and some of us are afraid of life. Amen. Are you hearing me? Yeah. Just bear with me. This thing is going to come real clear to you. But God had to let him know that before, verse Jeremiah 1:5, God tells him while he's questioning his life, where it's going. Amen. Before he even had an idea of who he really was, God had to let him know, look, listen to me. Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Amen. Are y'all hearing this? Amen. See these kids here? Before they were ever conceived in your belly, mama, God knew them. Before they ever came forth in the earth, before anybody got the chance to say male, female, or whatever male, God said, I knew them. He said, before I formed thee in the belly, before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee. Jesus. He said, I ordained thee a prophet unto the nation. Now what I'm trying to say in here when I talk about spiritual warfare that fights who you are, there are abilities and gifts and things that God put in you and they will put there before you ever came to the earth. But we many times miss who God called us to be, trying to be everything else but what we are. Man, listen to this young man. I have never been so relaxed being out. Check me out. I ain't smooth. I ain't dapper. Come on now. I got no GQ. I'm just straight up me. All over the world. preaching to nations all over the world, and haven't missed a beat of being ivory from harvesting. It took quite a while to get to that place. I'm not measuring my life by bling bling and things. Are you feeling me? I'm not measuring my life by the things I own. Those are all secondary. Matter of fact, you don't even have to know the Lord to own stuff.
Amen.
But the measurement was that God said, and here goes how it translates in other translations. He said to Jeremiah, I choose you before I gave you life. To God of mercy. You hear that? God said, I chose you before I gave you life. And before you were born, I selected you to be a prophet to the nations. I mean, to tell you, God already had our life already set up to make an impact. Now, but Cliff, I've done a few things along the way. Come on, somebody. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Y'all know what I get. But I did a few things along the way. I picked up a few things that I thought would make this thing work. Look at your neighbor and say, it didn't work. As soon as you find out that you can't work it, how many know that you can't work it? And then when you get a little older like I am, Pam, you start to realize that you can work that thing all you want to. That don't mean it's going to work that thing. You can pull all the kind of tricks you want to, but the day that you begin to realize, I'm trying to tell y'all, the place that I want to see God give you something out of this message today is to realize that God created you before the foundation of the earth. That God has things inside of you. But the warfare comes is every created human being that was chosen by God has to fight to get to know him. You have to fight a powerful enemy to get to know that you were chosen by God. I'll tell the truth, brother, shame the devil. In America, sometimes you got to fight racism just to realize who you are. Sometimes you have to fight the system just to get to know. Y'all understanding me? There's a battle, and then the worst person you got to fight is you. How many have been fighting with you for a long time? My worst enemy, man, my worst enemy is not Al-Qaeda. They ain't bothering me. My worst enemy is not this man, that man, the other man. My worst enemy, amen, is that battle inside of me that doesn't believe who God called me to be. Battling, feeling rejected when nobody's bothering you. No matter what, how God blesses you. We look at ourselves in the mirror, the nose don't look right, the eye don't look right, too big, too small. God just said, what you want me to do? Amen. Before you were formed in your mother's belly, God chose you. God has put grace and giftings. What I want to do today in this simple message, and it's not going to be long, is to pray for you that God brings you into a place till we stop being so insecure with who we are. You're not the subtotal of who broke up with you, who divorced you, who left you, and who ain't with you. That's right. You know what? Sometimes some stuff that we lose, we have to drop confetti and have a parade. Oh, I wish y'all could hear me preach this thing. I never thought if you, if this happened to me, baby girl, I've had a few girlfriends back in the day. Can we talk? I had a few girlfriends back in the day, and when we broke up and when they left me or whatever happened, I thought I was going to lose my mind. I thought I wasn't going to be nothing no more. But after a while, I began to realize they have moved on. I better learn to do the same. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, God give me the strength to keep stepping when things don't turn out the way they should. Oh, y'all heard what I'm saying to you. I'm trying to tell you, amen, that God has created in us his desire and his purpose, and along the way, life will kick you in the hide. Situations will come. The enemy will bring things up. The enemy will cause things to happen, and sometimes you will mess up. Amen. If you mess up, get up. All right. Can anybody give out a big hand praise? if you understand where I'm coming from, check this out. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, the serpent had caused Eve to be deceived. I'm going somewhere. Here, Adam and Eve was cool. I mean, they used to walk with God in the cool of the day. Can we talk? It was so strange in the garden that the serpent at one time could speak. Are you hearing me? Now, y'all read the Bible on a consistent basis. You follow me? And Adam and Eve would meet with God every day in the cool of the day. Are you hearing me? But I want to show y'all something. Although they were meeting with God and the garden was nice, and what God said, the trees that you could eat were fine, they were like us. Wasn't enough. Look to your neighbor and say, wasn't enough. It's what caused us all to get in this mess. Apostle Bailey, when God had Adam and Eve in the garden, they had everything at their access. They would meet with God on a daily basis. But God said, look, I'm going to tell you something. Can we talk? He said, look, every tree in this garden, you can eat thereof. But the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, he said, don't even eat it. Leave it alone. But the serpent. Somebody said the serpent. You can always tell when the devil comes because he always makes you feel that what you already have is not good enough. Who you already are is not good enough. The place God has already blessed you in. Not what? Not good enough. Watch anything that tells you you're not good enough. Now, it's one thing to want to achieve more. It's one thing to want to do better. But it's a terrible thing when you can't see that what you are and who you are is just as great as what you pursue. Are you hearing me? I want you to take it from this old dog here. Because I'm going to bring this thing to you so you can get some freedom. Adam and Eve in the garden in the cool of the day had everything going for themselves. And then all of a sudden that serpent that stood up, he did not crawl on the ground those days. He was actually able to walk, and that rascal was able to talk. Ain't nothing like a walking, talking serpent. Let me break it for you. A walking, talking serpent that tells you what you already have ain't enough. Can I break it down a little bit better? The serpents in your life tries to always offer you what you already got. That's if they can bring it. Have you ever had anybody come in your life trying to offer you what you already got as if they're bringing you something? And when you got hooked up with them, you found out you were losing what you had when they promised you more than what you got. Somebody heard that. Has anybody heard this preaching this? Are you hearing it? So the serpent said to Eve these words. Now remember what I'm trying to show you. Now what I'm showing you in the garden is life itself. Life always wants to make you feel that who you are and where you're at right now and God being with you is not enough. Once again, baby girl, I ain't talking about not wanting things. Oh no. I want to see you blessed. I want to see you have nice things. I want to see you live well. But I want to see you live and be well. Because some people are looking well, but they ain't living too good. So here we go. So Eve is out for her stroll. I don't know where Adam was. I don't know where that dude was. I'm not going to try to predispose him where Adam was. And I know this is the year of the ladies, but I'm not going to fix this for y'all. Because some of y'all will have Adam. He was somewhere. He couldn't marry. We don't know where he was, and neither do you. Can we talk? But Eve goes out, and the serpent begins to speak to her. And the serpent says to her, you know, God said to you, shall not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. For God knows that when you do it, you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. Here goes what he didn't tell her. You shall be as the fallen ones. She heard you shall be like the one that meets you in the cool of the day. But here goes what Satan was saying. When you taste this tree, you're going to be like the ones who lost their place. Sometimes somebody tries to offer you more than what you think you got, when in truth what you have is enough to carry you through. Now this is not a message to say want less. This is a message to adjust your mind to be ready for what God wants to do with you. Because remember, God already put something in you.
Yes.
Got that?
Amen.
So she turns around and here's the serpent said that. And the serpent said, you ain't gonna die. For the day that you eat thereof, you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And what that serpent had her to do, she partook of the tree, of the food fruit. And when she ate it, something happened differently. Watch the change that took place. The wisdom that she was trying to get caused Eve now and Adam to back away from God. They said these words, when I heard your voice, I hid my face. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, here comes trouble. If what you got in your life is truly a bless, how come you got to hide your face from God now? Now I'm going to chew on that for a couple of minutes, see if you work with it. Listen, never bring anything in your life that has to change a relationship that is from God. Amen. Sometimes in this world, there's a fight, brother, there's a fight, man. There is a fight to not allow your life to get hooked up with something that draws you away from God, from your own principles, from who you know the right way to do. Because at the end of the day, when that happens, the fruit of it tries to cut you from the blessing. So what it says in the book of Genesis 3:15, are you able to follow me? He said, because the serpent has done this, I will curse him and he'll no longer walk upright, but now he will slither on the ground. His voice that he used to speak, he no longer could speak again. Now the serpent hissed. I don't know about you, but they can tell me a snake ain't even, they can tell me that's a safe snake. He's okay, Ivory. I still go, I want no dealings with him. Anybody in here wants to like snakes? Anybody wants snakes around the house? Well, no, indeed. Why? Because it's an inbred thing that ever since God took and brought a difference between man and that serpent, we don't like snakes too. Matter of fact, I look funny at anybody that's too cool with it. But God said, I will put enmity. And this was a symbolism. He says, I'm going to put enmity, hatred, and warfare between thee and the woman. He was talking to the serpent. And between thy seed and her seed, it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. And that warfare constantly that we're all into is the enemy fighting us from understanding and walking in the blessing God called us to be.
Yes.
Are you hearing what I'm saying to you? I say to you, all of you in here, amen. There is a grace and a blessing that God has put in your life, but the enemy is fighting us from walking in it. Some of the things that he will use, this is a simple message, amen, but some of the things that the enemy will use to put us in this position, amen, is like this. Here we go. Proverbs 3 and 4. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 4. It says, let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck. Write them upon the tables of our heart, so that thou shalt find favor and good understanding in both the sight of God and the sight of man. So when favor is attacked in our life, it causes us to begin to feel like no one wants to accept us or bring us in. Can I tell you some truth? Sometimes you have to not look for everybody to accept you. Don't look for everybody to have a parade over you, but begin to use what God put in you. You know what I never do, bro? I never let anybody's jealousy stop me from doing anything. I feel real sorry for you if you're jealous, but I pay you no mind because I've learned to live with or without it. Can I hear an amen? See, I'm talking, God has given you favor. Because favor will cause jealousy. Now, when I was in high school and thought like a high school kid, if somebody got jealous over something, I'd stop doing it. Now I'm an old dog. Get jealous all you please. I'm going to keep right on stepping. Talk about me all you please. I'm going to keep right on stepping. Because there's some folk that hasn't recognized the favor in their own life and will not let you rejoice in yours. Are you hearing what I'm saying to you? Have you ever noticed this? Every time you Have you ever shared the desire of what you want to become or do to someone and they kill it? They're called dream killers.
Come on.
A dream killer, I don't care if it's in your family. A dream killer will hear a stranger's passion and love it and hear yours and put it to death. Don't fool with dream killers.
That's right.
I'm trying to tell you, God has put things within us. What we're going to pray for tonight before we close out of here, amen, is for us to get to the place saying, God, you have created gifts in me. Every good and perfect gift comes from above. I've seen people in life, in the world, on TV, I've seen people talk about them like a dog, but they help more folk than the folks talking.
That's right. Most useful.
Never allow anyone to limit what you want to become simply by their complaining. Never allow anyone to destroy your drive and your passion. Jeremiah got to one place after God let him know, I formed thee. And before you were formed in the belly, he said, now God, your word in me is like fire shut up in my bones. In other words, glory be to God, Jeremiah got to the place, he started out like this, man of God. Lord God, they don't want to hear me. They don't want to hear what I want to say. Isaiah felt the same way. Isaiah said they don't want to hear what I got to say. After a while, later on down the road, you heard these very same people talking different. They caught the revelation that God has put something in them and it must not be shut down. My prayer for these kids, these young children in here, and for you is that you do not allow anyone to kill what God has put inside you. If there's something you desire to be, baby girl, press towards it. One thing you got to understand about God is, some folks saying, well, Brother Ivory, how can I tell what God has put in my heart? Well, what burns in your soul?
That's right.
One of my friends over Milton, and what have you, she has a boutique, does hair. She's me and my wife's buddy. I remember she came and talked to us some time ago. I ain't going too deep in her business. And she was getting ready to go to Atlanta for a show, and her money was short, and she didn't have enough to go to that show. And I looked at her and I said to her, I said, you know what? She said, what? I said, here, go. She said, y'all can't do that. I said, oh, yes, we can. Because you see, I believe in your hands. I believe in your styling. See, anybody can follow you when you're up. Amen. But the one that's going to really be in your corner is the one that can help you when you're down. I wish somebody would hear that. I wanted to see her shop established so much so. Now, I've never shared this before, you understand? I wanted to see her vision come to pass. Now, how did I get to that place? Because mine has. Amen. Cliff, there was a time in my life, man, you and I both would have never thought, I've been preaching. Now, come on, hey, bro. Could you imagine you'd be back there in that row, listen to your boy get it off over here? Nobody thought I'm going to be no preacher. They're coming from Harvest and looking like this and got an international ministry. Global. Are you hearing me? Yes. Why? Because God looked down in Harvest, looked down in Millsboro, looked over in Cape Lope and said, I see what y'all are talking about what they're doing, but I'm going to give you something to talk about. Watch me, God, take that life and take it where I want it to be. I wish you would tell your neighbor, say, my God will take my life where he wants it to be. You're looking at what you see, but God knows where I am to be. God have mercy. Are you hearing me? My God. It turned me on to see someone else's vision take place. It turns me on to see what God birthed in you. And God chose, he said it in this in 1 Corinthians. He said, God has chosen the weak things to confound that which is mighty. The foolish things to confound the wise. Ain't making no sense. Ain't making no sense. Listen, every good thing that you do to speak into another person's life, it comes back to you. Yes. Baby girl, you know what riches really is? You know what really having it really is? it's the ability to answer someone else's problem. Oh, y'all do you know what I'm saying? Listen, can we talk natural? Can we talk? I know we all up in church, but can I talk natural to you? We want to criticize Beyonce and this one and that and the other one. Let me ask you a question. How many people have you fed? How many scholarships have you helped pay for? You're not getting this. Why? Because we're picking people's lives, like cherry picking something. I maintain to tell you, the last person that you saw with whatever problem they had, you don't want to limit who they become. My wife's favorite buddy, she loves this man. Ice-T? Yes, she does. They say, you're tripping. I said to her, yeah. I said, my boy was straight up gangster. Compton fine. You hear me? Straight up gangster. But you know what? If you look at his life, what he has become, where we started is not the end of where we are. Man, where you started is not the end of where you are. Man, I remember, Pam, I remember my story. Me and Evelyn was just as young as we could be. Ain't had none. We was living on our trailer and the doors were coming down, which is cool. And it was small, and it was cool. And it was home. Baby girl, you know, we used to have a table, a kitchen table. You know, those kind that if you move it too far, you don't fill up the whole kitchen. And we used to sit, I'm going somewhere. And we used to sit, and my mama then was working for what they called Allen's, and mama would buy crates of chicken, and she'd give us some chicken because we were broke.
Come on.
Yeah, like my brother and friend John Eckhart says, we weren't poor. We lost the syllable. We were poor. I'm still talking to you.
Yes.
And greatness was sitting in that trailer. Apostolic authority was sitting in that trailer. 14 books, media ministry all over the world was sitting in that trailer. You just couldn't see it yet. And we set our little toaster oven. You know that little toaster oven? They weren't big, but this big. And you better be careful when you move it because the thing could probably break there and you're done. And that's where we would cook our leg quarters. Y'all know how to leg quarters. They're a little bit more grace than a chicken neck. Are you hearing me? And that was our meal. Baby girl, they were some of the most happiest. We struggled, but we struggled. We went through. But we went through. And later God blessed us. God gave us favor. I got a job as an attendant. No, I wasn't a nurse. No, I did not have a PhD. I washed and cleaned patients and loved every single one of them.
Jesus.
I worked 11 to 7 shifts so that one could work during the day and one could babysit the children during the night. Vice versa, you get me? Are you hearing me? I'm going somewhere with this. And we did it. And all of that grace was still in me. What am I trying to tell you? Where you struggle at right now is not the subtotal of who you are. It's just the road you got to go through to get there. Man, do you know that you can be in such a place of God answering what you need week by week and day by day until you don't even know how poor you are? Cliff, there was a time, brother, my boys in here, Cliff, there was a time I read in history that folk were jumping off of buildings because the stock market went down. I would have never jumped off a building, had no stock. Wouldn't know what it meant. So I didn't know what was lost. You know what? In other words, amen, many thinking, man, you were sure poor then. I was as rich and as blessed as I am now because I was content. I was provided for because I was on my way to prophetic destiny.
Yes, Lord. Thank you, Jesus.
On my way to purpose because what God had put in me. Some of you are struggling right now. I'll I'm going to tell you the truth. The answer to your struggling is not a large check. It's perseverance.
Yes.
It's perseverance. It's thinking. It's humility. I had to humble myself to receive that chicken from my mama. But I humbled myself because I was going to beat my children.
Yes.
Are you hearing what I'm saying to you? And God, all along, was still working on destiny. Possibly I'm preaching to some folks in there.
Yes, indeed.
All along, God was working on destiny. Cliff, from that hospital in Stokely, me and my wife got to working together. And then she finally went to Del Tech. And she took some courses in business. Now, here goes a unique. Ready for the clincher? When she said to me, Ivory, I'd like to take some courses in business. I was going like, we don't have a business, but here goes one business I do have. The business of making you happy for what you want.
All right now.
Hey, Cliff, it didn't matter, brother. I wasn't jumping for joy for me. I was jumping for joy for her. If it gave her peace, then I'm happy. And she went to that business school. Working night, working days. I'm talking about the path to greatness. I'm talking about the path to God developing your life. It didn't always start with everything working out for us. We struggled, we strived, but God was with us.
Yes. Yes.
We didn't have, and we were believing and praying, and we had some tight times, but God was with us. We worked the way we had to work, and we ate what we had to eat, but God was with us because He was not going to allow the purpose and the destiny inside us to die. Are you hearing me?
Thank you, Lord Jesus.
I said, man, what is he preaching here? I'm preaching that before the foundation of the earth, God had ordained and had anointed. All of those seasons, young man, I did not look like I was going to be preaching nothing. Not one word. But you know what, Shanique? Where you are right now, don't change when God takes you where He wants you to be.
All right now.
Cliff, one of the greatest compliments I ever get from some of my old school fellows like y'all is that's just Ivory, man. That's Ivory. We hold degrees. I'm chancellor of a university. All of that kind of stuff. And I'm just Ivory. It's okay to be who you are as God is taking you there. And guess what? This ain't the end of your life. There's still more to come.
Yes.
These little kids right here, it's amazing what they will be. Now to some of us, they might be, oh, they bad. Oh, they always in something. There you go. There you go. I often tell possibilities, we said this 1,000 times. Hey, I found it years ago, even before y'all, despite before y'all's time, they used to talk about how a Glad trash bag would hold very strong. How many of y'all remember that commercial? You remember that commercial? Raise your hand. Say, how many of y'all remember that commercial? It was because when we had kilos of reefer in it and hidden in my mom's house, that bag did not bust. We was loading it with Yucatan gold, come on, Cambodian red. It was heavy. And my mom one day found that. Now this was how we were my mother's headache. I was not looking like an apostle, not walking like an apostle. No name, no title. And today, God has blessed us.
Yes.
We're living in a place of I shall not want. Are you understanding? And when I talk about a place of I shall not want, it's not because I have a mansion or this, that, and the other. It's because my final place is I am gloriously and wondrously made.
Yes.
And that my soul knows right well. God deliver me. God deliver you until you begin to understand it is absolutely okay to be you.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with looking nice. Nothing wrong with dealing with your weight. But don't let that thing deal with you.
That's right.
Don't let anything make the subtotal of who God created y'all to be. Don't let the enemy steal it. Don't let rejection steal it. Don't let jealousy steal it.
Yes.
Don't let self-hatred steal it. Don't do it. Don't let nothing steal from you who God has made you to be. Don't let a divorce steal it. Don't let a breakup steal it. That's what I'm trying to say to y'all today. Some of us in here need to be healed from those things that just nudge and attacks you, fighting you from whom God made you to be. Where you got started, Pam, where we got started is, number one, it's okay to be me right here. Sometimes we want to go to a place where we think the grass is greener than on the other side. That's what happened to Eve. The only way that the serpent was able to mess Eve up was he looked at her and made her feel discontent with where she was. All she had to do was to look at him and say, you know what? You see who I meet in the cooler today? It's God. You know what? I don't need your tree. I need to meet him. How many of y'all have met him? How many know that's enough? When you really get to understand, come on, give God the praise. When you really get to understand who you really are, you will understand, man, it's cool to be me. I may not be where I want to be with certain things. I may have dreams that I want to fulfill, but right here, right now is where I start. I'm not going to base my life to become something later. I am something now. Did you hear what I just said, baby? We can't base our life saying my value will be told and felt when I get there. My value is here now.
Yes.
I am someone by the grace of God now. Psalm 113, I think it is, 147, he says, thou art wondrously and gloriously made, and that my soul knoweth right well. Marvelous is thy works. How many of y'all know you're gloriously and you're wondrously made? Are you hearing me? Wondrously made. I mean, you're talking about a miracle from the dude that had the glad bag full of all kinds of reefer to the preacher now that's preaching the grace of God and not forgetting that I am no different and no better than nobody else. Realizing that, oh my God, it's the grace of God, the same grace that will do the same for somebody else. Your journey may be different, somebody hear me? Your struggle may be different, but it's still just a struggle. You may be where you are right now, but that's not where you're going to always be. You got to know that. Faith in us has to say this much: God, I am here. I'm going through this now, but I got to trust you because you knew me better than I know myself. You knew me before I was formed in my mother's belly. You knew me, God. Thank you, Jesus. God, we thank you. So you ready to close? Any of you that have struggled with that feeling that you're not good enough, that your life ain't going this or that way, I want to pray with you today.
Amen.
I want to pray and ask the Holy Spirit to strengthen you, to build you, because I'm telling you, you have been designed by God to make it. The thing that works against us most is when the enemy of our soul has convinced us that we can't. Are you hearing me? That we can't make it. I plan for the rest of my life to leave out of here saying to everybody, you just don't know who you are. You awesome creation of God. Do you know how unique you are? Look at your hand. Listen, only time we recognize uniqueness is when they're taking our fingerprint and saying, we got you. Because ain't nobody else got one like you. And that we know then we are unique, don't we? Can I tell you something? If you can recognize a God that is so powerful, so detailed, so minutely detailed that he said, Pam, your DNA will not match your twin sister. He said, Pam, you and your sister Pat, y'all got 5 fingers, not even the same fingerprint. Amen. That's bad, ain't it? Yeah. That's the God we serve. The God we serve has created you and me so unique. There's not another person on the planet like you. When I'm gone, that's the only model. Do you see how bad you are? Yeah. Y'all better stand up and talk to y'all, because I don't hear it leave. Bad, bro. You are off the hook, sis. There's not another person created like you. And what do? Spend most of our life trying to be what? Somebody else. Look at your neighbor, say impossible. You can't possibly be anybody else. Because you are an original. There's nobody like you. See, when I talk like this, folks say, that brother done lost his mind. He really think he is something. Yep. I just think he's all that in the bag of chips. Pretty much.
Yes.
And it's not arrogance. I've learned the uniqueness. I don't need a police officer to take my fingerprint and tell me how unique I am. We got him.
That's right.
Anybody get it? Amen. I don't need him to do that. Yes. That's what a lot of us find out that we are unique. Yep, that's him. Yes. Yep, that's him. I don't need that.
I know that.
Well, I need to know. As before he formed me in my mother's belly, he knew me. Yes. Right down to my cellular structure. Yes. He knew me. Right down to my thoughts and ideas. He knew me. Right down to the secret stuff I ain't gonna tell y'all. That's right. I ain't gonna tell you anything. That's right. Come on. You can't handle some of the stuff. Everybody got no stuff they keep to themselves. They say, you lied. But God knew me. Matter of fact, in that secret place that I won't tell you about it, that's the place I met God. All right now. You know that place in the back of your head now? Ivory, please. You ever had God talk to you like that? Just like you're in a combat? Come on, Ivory. Now you know better than this. You know I raised you different than this. I touched your heart different than this. You perpetrating. I saved you to be on the 100. You out here perpetrating, acting like something you're not.
No, Karen.
Oh, come on now. You gotta bring me anyway. Yes, let's play that. See, don't play some of that sweet music, and I'm gonna play it along with you. For God to heal you of the insecurity, to heal you of feeling less than who you are. And the anointing of God is going to fall. That's what we're going to do.
Amen.
See, I don't have to work it up.
That's right.
But that's who we are. Sometimes, Cliff, I walk on the stage, 1,500, 3,000 people. And I say, I'm from Hobson, Delaware. And everybody looks at me like, I said, you're wondering where that's at, aren't you? And they go like, yeah. I said, and that's the point. The point is, it's not where you're from. It's who's in you. Right now, I want to pray for those that needs to be strengthened. Strengthened in your spirit. Strengthened from the warfare you go through with your own destiny, your own life. If there's anyone who wants prayer, we ask you to step up. We want to pray with you. God, thank you. Oh, hallelujah. Bring it up just a little bit.